everybody. This is Diana from So Very Crafty, and today we are here to make baby blocks. Yes, baby blocks. How fun are these? If you have a baby in your life, whether you're a grandparent or a parent, these baby blocks are fun to make. I just love them. And I've used a little bit of applique on here for a letter. You can use it for the initial of your baby's name. You can use ABCs. Whatever you want to use for that applique is perfect for this little project. The beauty of these baby blocks is I've used a whole host of baby fabrics that I had on hand in my stash that were remnants that I got from Joann's at 50% off. You can't beat that. Some of them are cotton, some of them are fleece, some of them are animal prints, baseball prints, kitty prints. It doesn't matter. Your baby is going to love playing with these little baby blocks. So if you would like to learn how to use these baby blocks, continue on with this tutorial and subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up and press on that bell button for alerts for all my other videos coming up. But this one is a fun one and it's super simple. This is a beginner sewing project. So let's get started on making this fun little baby block. So what do we need? We need 6 pieces of baby fabric that measure 4.5 inches square. That's it, 4.5 inches square. We are going to need some applique fabric, and yours can be any color you want, or it can be a print. It's completely up to you. I used black so mine would stand out. We are going to need some polyester fiberfill. That's what this is. And we need to stuff our blocks with our polyester fiberfill. And you can get that at any fabric store. Or I will provide a link in the discussion section of the video, and you can order it from Amazon. It is available everywhere. So what do? Well, we start with our blocks and we lay them out just as I'm going to lay them out here. We have a center block. We put one on the left, one on the right, one on the top, one on the bottom, just like a square or just like a cross. And then we have a little extra guy down here on the bottom. So we have what looks like a long cross. And that's the way we're going to start out our baby blocks today. But before we actually stitch these baby blocks together, we are going to do a little bit of applique. Now, I know that applique seems a little intimidating, but I promise you that it's not. It is a super simple process. What do you need for that? You need some heat and bond or some Wonder Under. Depends on what company you want to buy it from, but it is an applique material. And it has glue on one side and paper on the other, and the paper on the other side has glue on it too. But the first thing that you're going to do with your heat and bond is you are going to iron it onto your project on the wrong side. The next thing that you are going to do is you are going to take your letter that you have printed out, or whatever image that you have whether it's a number, a letter, an image, whatever it is that you want to applique onto your block, and you are going to trace it onto the paper part of your Wonder Under. And we are going to take our letter A, and we are going to trace it onto our Wonder Under, just following around the trace. But the important thing is that we need to trace this so that it is the mirror image of the letter. And you'll understand why when I'm finished doing the applique. So I'm just drawing around here. It's kind of messy, but it's fine. We have our A. And it is reversed on our heat and bond. The next thing that we are going to do is we're going to cut this out. We are just going to carefully cut around our tracing lines. I have just a small pair of scissors here that is going to help me accomplish that. I used a little bit of a fancy letter here, but you can use just a basic letter if you like. Just choose a font that's probably a little easier to do than this one, but I liked this font. And I blew this font up to about 200 points on my printer in order to get it to be a good size for this project. And don't forget to cut the middle. The next thing we are going to do with our letter is we are going to pull off this paper. And underneath this paper is glue. And we can pick any one of these squares, and we're just going to place our letter on here, and we're going to press it with a hot iron so that it fuses onto this piece of fabric. So I'm going to head over to the iron, and I'm just going to press this letter on there so that it is fused to the fabric. Okay, so I have fused our letter A onto one of our fabric squares. Now you have a choice. You can leave it like this, and it should be fine and not come off. Or you can applique it using either a zigzag stitch, a straight stitch, or a satin stitch to further hold this into place. And I like to do that. I like to use a little bit of tearaway stabilizer underneath this to support the stitching. and then use a zigzag or a satin stitch all the way around my letter to secure that. I'm not going to do that for this video, but I would recommend that you do that. Just to make sure that it's nice and secure. And for the sample block that I did, I actually did zigzag stitch all the way around the block. As you can probably see from this video, you can see the zigzag stitches all the way around the bee on this particular block. Now the next thing that we are going to do is, once we have our applique onto our fabric, and again I would recommend that you stitch this down, but I'm not going to do it for this video. We are going to start sewing these squares together. We are going to start with the top square, and we're going to put it right sides together with the center square. And we are going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we are going to start our seam a 1/4 inch in, and we're going to finish it a 1/4 inch from the end. And this will be important when we start to stitch all of these pieces together into a box. So let's head over to the sewing machine so we can start and stitch these pieces together. Okay, here we are at the sewing machine, and we are going to start stitching about 1/4 inch in from the end. We're going to back stitch a little bit. And stitch. And we're going to stop 1/4 inch from the end and back stitch. And as you can see, we have these little ears at the end of our seam, but that's what we want because we have more of these to stitch together. So let's head back over to the workstation and figure out what we need to do next. Now, here we are back at the workstation, and we are going to stitch all of these 4 pieces together using the 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you what else to do. So I'm not going to show you how to stitch these together. It's the same exact technique as we did on the first one. We are going to leave 1/4 inch on the beginning and the end of each of one of these, because when we start to stitch these together into a box, it's going to be important. So I will be back in just a moment with all of these together. Okay, so now we have our pieces sewn together. And now we need to sew on this, what's going to be sort of the top of our fabric. And we're going to sew that to the bottom of this, again leaving our 1/4 inch on each end. So let me go and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are, and now our block is going to become a block. We are going to start attaching these sides. So we have the top of our cross, and we're going to match the sides of the side of our cross. And we're just going to add a few pins. Now, if you're an advanced sewist, you probably don't need to pin this at all. But for a beginner sewist, I would recommend that you pin these together so that you know exactly where these are going to go. You're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And as you can see, a block is starting to form. And all of these are right sides together. Then we have the part with our A. And now you can see why those 1/4 inch seam allowances that we left open are important, because we are going to use them when we stitch these together. And finally, we will do this last one. And for now, I'm going to leave this little top part open. So I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and I am going to stitch these sides, all 4 of these sides together, and we're going to come back and do the rest of our steps. Here we are again back at the sewing machine, and we are just going to stitch these sides together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we are going to repeat that process on all 4 sides. I'm not going to show you on the video how to do all 4 sides because they're exactly the same. And then we're going to head over and go to our next step. Okay, so now you can see that our pieces of fabric have now become a block. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch this top part onto our fabric on these sides. But on the front here, I'm only going to stitch a part way on each side, and I'm going to leave a gap open in the middle so that we have room to use our fiberfill to stuff this block so that it's nice and stuffed. So I will be back from the sewing machine here in a short minute once I've sewn on this top. Okay, we are back at the sewing machine and we are going to stitch the top of our block using a 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides. Then we're going to sew the other side, again using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And last but not least, I am going to stitch just a little bit on this side and a little bit on this side so that I have an opening in the middle so that I can stuff this block. there we have it. So let's go back over to our workstation and stuff this block and finish off our project. Okay, now what we need to do is to turn this block right sides out, and we are going to do that through this opening that we've left in the top of our block, or what's really not the top, but what we're referring to as the top. And you can see that we have a nice little block. Stands up all on its own, but we want to stuff our block with some fiberfill. So I have some polyester fiberfill here, and all we need to do is stuff it inside of our opening to the amount that we want our block to be. So that'll just take me a few minutes. And there you have it, nice and simple to stuff that. We'll actually do a little bit more on this side. And the front. And now what we have to do is close this block. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to close this block using ladder stitch. I am not going to show you how to do ladder stitch in this video because there are tons of videos online that will show you how to do it, and using white thread on this project will not show up very well to teach you how to do it. But there is our block. Now we have two, an A and a B block for our little baby. So I hope you enjoyed this project. It's a super simple one, takes only a few minutes to do. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, hit that little bell for notifications, and see some more of my sewing and crafting videos here at So Very Crafty. And if you want, head over to www.soverycrafty.com for more sewing and crafting tutorials that you don't see here on YouTube, or just head over to my YouTube channel for many, many more YouTube videos on how to do beginner and intermediate sewing projects. So thanks, and I will see you the next time here at So Very Crafty. Bye!